This is the Rokinon 50mm T1.5 Cine DS Lens, and in this video we're going to shoot a sequence using only this lens. Let's start with some information about this lens. It is a full-frame lens with a 50mm focal length. This is a cine lens with features tailored for video use. Its aperture range is measured in t-stops instead of f-stops, and the aperture ring is declicked for smoother lighting transitions. This lens is very fast, with an aperture range from T1.5 to T22. It has an 8-blade diaphragm. Both the aperture ring and the focus adjustment have 0.8 gears and are well dampened. Unlike typical photography lenses which have a relatively short travel in their focus adjustment, this cine lens has a relatively long travel. This allows for much smoother focus pulls and finer adjustments. It is designed to minimize focus breathing while maintaining the same angle of view. This lens has a minimum focus distance of 17.7 inches or 0.45 meters. It has an optical construction of 9 glass elements in 6 groups and features internal focusing and ultra multi-coating. It has a filter size of 77 millimeters. It has a weight of 19.6 ounces or 550 grams. And it comes with a removable petal-shaped lens hood. This particular lens has a Nikon F mount, but the lens comes in a variety of different mounts. Lastly, this lens is made in Korea. Now let's briefly discuss our video setup. We'll use a Fujifilm X-T3, filming in DCI 4K at 24 frames a second in the F-Log profile. We will output 10-bit 422 via HDMI to the Atomos Ninja 5. The encoder will encode in ProRes 422. We'll use an adapter to go from the Nikon F mount to the Fuji X mount. This particular adapter has a magnification of 0.73x. So with the APS-C sensor's crop factor combined with our lens adapter, the adapted focal length of our 50mm lens will be about 54.75 millimeters. This adapter has an aperture adjustment ring which we'll leave wide open and use the aperture adjustment on the lens itself. Lastly, we'll use a neutral density filter when using this lens wide open since we'll be filming outside during daylight. Now for our sequence. We'll be showing you how to make a cup of green tea. Our settings here are T8, ISO 6400, no neutral density filter. All of these shots have been color graded. Our settings for this close-up of the tea leaves are T1.5, ISO 1000, with a 6-stop neutral density filter. Now back to T8 at ISO 640, no neutral density filter. The settings for this shot are T1.5, ISO 2500 with the neutral density filter. Here the settings are T2.8, ISO 6400 with the neutral density filter. Now this isn't meant to be a full review, but we'll share a few of our initial observations. This lens is very useful for general video use. The minimum focus distance is relatively short and the focal length is suitable for a variety of situations. While it can be relatively sharp at T1.5 given enough distance from the subject, the depth of field is so shallow when close to the subject that this setting in particular may be useful primarily for special situations or for use in low light. Otherwise, at T5.6 for example, it is very sharp with pleasing separation of the subject with mild bokeh. The lens is well made despite there being a lot of plastic on the exterior. The manual states it has an aluminum body. Just for a quick comparison, this more expensive Nikon 20mm 1.8G is made mostly of plastic with similar glass elements and filter size. Yet the Nikon feels nowhere near as robust as the Rokinon. In short, the Rokinon should last many years if well cared for. Lastly, this is not a light lens. If you plan on using it with a gimbal, make sure you factor in the weight of this lens in your setup, both in terms of the payload on the gimbal as well as carrying it around on the gimbal all day. Alright, if you enjoyed this video and learned something, please give a like and consider subscribing. We appreciate your support. And drop a comment below if you have this lens or you're considering it. Thanks!